Hi, so we're the directors of AV Consulting. I'm Farbod. His name is Farbod too. I call him F2 and F1 or FV. We thought we'd just have a chat today about a deep dive into SEO and search engine optimization, and mostly who is it relevant for, and when does it come, and when is it quite crucial for different types of organizations, from small businesses, e-commerce, service-based businesses, content creators, non-profit organizations, startups. Search engine optimization is relevant and quite significant for everyone in some stage, at some stage of the organization's maturity. The question is, when does it become quite important for them to put budget into it and seriously consider it? Because it is a long-term game, but that long-term game cannot be used as a cover as is used sometimes by some people. So yeah, let's jump in. Let's dive into it. Where do you want to start, man?
So let's start with the importance of SEO. Nowadays, every company, either providing services or products, have to have a digital presence, or most of the time website application. If you have a great website, the most beautiful user-friendly website, but when your potential clients search your service or products cannot find you on the first page, it means that you don't even have a website. More than 90% of the users don't go to the second page of the Google results. So that's explain the importance of search engine optimization. You have to be present on the first page of Google result when somebody search relevant keywords to your service or products.
I want to challenge you there. I mean, it's being a little melodramatic by suggesting if you're not on the first page, it's as if you don't have a website. It's good to have it. You're never going to be on the first page. Hardly anyone ever is going to start on the first page. It is going to have some significance marketing importance, especially as to installing trust and credibility. But yeah, I mean, it's important to be on first page, but chances are most people are not going to make it to first page for a long time, if ever.
Yeah, it's good to we start discussing about this topic, which is important.
Yeah.
Then we can move on. If you have a very well-known brand, even if you don't work like technical SEO, or you don't produce content often, because you have a brand and you've been present in the market for a long time, you will be in the first page, and so many people search your brand, not your service. I'm talking about medium, small size businesses that they don't have that well-known brand. And there are many SEO strategies to start working on a long tail or your brand name. Those keywords is very easy and quick to be come up on the first page.
So we're talking about small businesses here now, right?
Small
businesses with little brand presence. Their service or the product may be known, but their brand or their name is not known yet, and they're relying on people's finding them or users finding them organically. Being attracted to the headlines and descriptions and the meta information, as opposed to seeing their brand name and recognizing it.
Yeah,
that's the world we're particularly talking about now, I suppose.
So if the main media that people can find your service is digital and searching your service, that's become so important. If you can find your client through word of mouth, you've been in the market for a long time and you don't want to expand your sales through digital medias, especially search like Google or other search engines, yeah, that could be my statement was like overstating. Like if you are not present the first page, means you are not, you don't even exist.
Yeah. So when does it? When do you think it becomes important for small business to consider SEO?
SEO. The problem with SEO is costly. It needs different skills from content creation to be technical skills, knowing on-site like improvement, knowing codes, improving website speed. So it costly and it takes time, as you mentioned. Most of the time takes time, especially for very competitive keywords like plumbing Auckland, electrician Auckland, and it takes time. So small businesses cannot wait to get resolved.
Yeah.
Then it comes to balance of PPC and SEO. Sooner or later, you need to start working on your website, creating content, if not for your blog, at least for your landing pages. Even creating a good content and designing a good landing page is part of SEO. So from the time you start making your website, you're already in the process of SEO. But if you have a technician, like specialist, SEO specialist beside you, it's like you, like any other things, you do it with, you don't go through trying and making mistakes. Somebody save your time. So
trial and error.
Try and error. So back to your question is, you don't start with SEO when you are just starting your business. But if you have a website and you want to renew it or improve it, you should start with SEO. But if you are a startup, you start with paid clicks instead of SEO till you get some incomes, some revenue, and then when you have, if you want to invest for longer time on your business and you want to be present for a longer time on a specific location, it's the time that you start SEO project.
So my understanding is, I suppose, long answer cut short, is that Google's algorithm is the company Alphabet is worth $1.8 trillion. It's because its algorithm is getting pretty damn good at picking up what's relevant to your search, and this includes offline, online activity. That means everything under the sun could be considered as part of a search engine optimization scope, from content creation to technical work on your website to recognizing the alt tag, the meta description, the images, all that, etc. Where was I going with this? With the
social signals, branding.
Yeah.
So maybe you wanted to say every marketing strategy move you make can contribute to your SEO.
It is. The algorithm is so smart now that it picks it up. So everything is part of it. It does involve different discipline. As a small business, if you get a trust fund behind you and you have the budget for it, it's not a bad way of spending your marketing budget, and it does provide sort of third-party user data as to where your business has weaknesses in. Because if it's not being recognized by the search engines, if the website analytics behavior suggests that engagement is probably quiet down, people are not converting, people are not scrolling your pages, all that stuff, then that's a stress test for your business, that I need to improve this, I need to flesh out this service a bit more. It needs to be understandable within 11 seconds or whatever amount of time is. And that trickles left, up, down, left, and right to you honing a better product or service, I believe, anyway. But, if you don't have that trust fund behind you, if you're not backed by a lot of capital for your small business, then perhaps it makes sense to start with pay-per-click first, which we will discuss in later podcasts. Bring in some conversions, turn that into sales, and ensure your digital marketing strategy, at least your search engine marketing side, justifies itself in terms of bringing customers and clients and returning more income than the money you're spending. And then when you and your market are comfortable with how much return on advertising spend you're generating, or your customer, or you've reached your goal of customer acquisition costs, then you can start focusing on SEO, on search engine optimization more seriously, in terms of hiring specialists for it and seeing how you can increase your impressions and organic clicks.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So that's. Do you think that covers the small business part of things, or?
Yeah, that's cover maybe some other points that might come up in the other sections. Yeah.
So suppose the bullet points is small business. If you don't have a lot of budget behind you, you're still trying to bring in sales. Start with PPC. Work with set KPIs and metrics, and once that's satisfied and it justifies the cost, then the next natural step is search engine optimization, assuming the service and the brand name is relatively known enough. If it's unknown, if the search volume isn't there, then that's a rabbit hole of its own and a podcast of its own discussion as well.
Yeah. So if you want to go through different between PPC and SEO, it's going to be another podcast. But as you mentioned, bullet point, if you want a quick result, PPC, and but long-term investment, saving some of the PPC budget for you, going to be SEO strategy. And these two works together. So you need a consultant that helps you to balance your budget in terms of focusing on SEO or PPC.
We'll just caveat this by saying every marketing activity can be justified and rational. The question is, when and where should you put money into it? I always compare it to D-Day landings, if I'm being politically incorrect here a bit. The World War II, they could have landed in 20 different beaches, but they picked the Omaha beach to land in because that was the most strategic area to expand their forces from. SEO is just part of search engine marketing. Search engine marketing is part of digital marketing. Digital marketing is part of marketing. And marketing is part of your business development. So we're just focusing on one niche area of this and discussing when and where and how you should start.
Yeah.
And what other KPIs should you meet first before you should consider this, while being aware of this. Let's jump to e-commerce. E-commerce is a different kettle of fish. Now, assuming you have an e-commerce store that has creatives, has product images, it's relatively set up to sell. Those who have e-commerce stores, I suppose, know the challenges they got to go through to get a website up running. You can't just rely on stock images, etc. But assuming you're there, when and where does SEO become relevant for e-commerce stores?
Yeah, we had this
side aside.
Discussion size aside. Because I want to talk about size
or include some
number of products, because we had the discussion recently for different clients. If you have only 8, 10, 12 products, it's actually for e-commerces, I'm thinking you need a website admin, because every day you update your products, added a new products, remove a product, change the description of the products, available, not available. So that is hand to hand with SEO, optimizing your title, description of your products for search engines.
So that's really important for audiences to know how in e-commerce, essentially, search engine optimization becomes murky or convoluted or mixed with site administration, essentially. Because the scope, you can't separate the scopes, and they are quite mixed. It's not purely secretarial, but it's not purely SEO specialist focus as well. It's a hybrid of both.
So I completely agree with you. So the SEO project for e-commerce is a combination of web admin, improving user experience, improving product landing pages, maybe content creation, because your product has lots of content. So it's good when you're expanding to talk about your category products, like benefits, comparing those kind of things in the later stage if you are expanding your business. But for starting e-commerce and the beginning stages, you just have to focus on user experience and products, images, descriptions, and make it easy for clients to just under 3 clicks be able to purchase your products.
And I'll just hone in on that as well. One particular part is the product description page. What e-commerce owners probably should be aware of is that the homepage is quite important, but when you start, this is why I'm mixing topics up, but it's, I think, unavoidable. But your primary customer journey, the gateway to your website, will most likely be from your products pages. Because when you start at e-commerce stores, you will be investing in some sort of PPC marketing. And you can't really set keywords for a product description pages. That's why you have to make sure the titles and descriptions are really long, include keywords, the search engine optimization part. You include everything that the user would think want to see. That becomes that's part of your keyword research strategy. This is why I suppose with Amazon products or any successful or half-assed successful e-commerce website you scroll through, you see very, very long descriptions with almost including all of the headlines of product descriptions into headlines, because they are going for those keywords and it works with those click-through rates. So we can delve into that if you want.
Yeah, I mean,
if I'm convoluting things, let me know.
It's okay. First part of what you start talking about, like e-commerce is, with our experience we had, PPC shopping ads is how can I say? Maybe it's a must for beginners e-commerces, because Google rarely shows free shoppings, and if somebody searches Google rarely shows free shopping.
Yeah.
So if somebody searches your products, Google shows all of your competitions on the shopping ads on the top of the page, and in the mobile you don't even see the other search results. So PPC is good for e-commerces because you get more intended clicks,
intentional transaction clicks.
Because customers see image of your products, price, and brand. So it's a very informal decision to click on that shopping ads and go to the website, because your price already been in the range that users intended to buy. The brand is a brand that they wanted to buy. So it's just gives very high conversion rate, shopping ads, to converting and purchasing product from your website.
So I suppose what you're saying is that organic shopping is a lot less than organic conversions for service providers.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't bank on organic shopping, bank on PPC, especially when you first start.
Yeah, so I'm recommending 100% for any e-commerce to have a shopping ads. Now is PMax. We can talk about the differences, but
we'll go through
presenting your products on the top of the page result when somebody search your products. And that's make it more important to have a PPC strategy compared to SEO strategy for e-commerces.
Yeah, it does. So I suppose just to hone it back a little bit, product is for e-commerce owners. Ensure your headlines and descriptions and your product pages are drafted with keyword research in the background, with keyword with keyword research in mind, or having done keyword research first and then draft your headlines and description based on your keyword research, because it helps you organically and it helps your PPC significantly as well. Because with shopping ads, you cannot pick keywords. You can set negative keywords, etc., but it's not search where you can pick your keywords. I understand we're delving into PPC now. We're talking about SEO, but they are very much intertwined, interlinked as well. We'll try to separate them as much as we can. What are some other aspects e-commerce stores, e-commerce owners should consider from a search engine optimization perspective?
We have done projects that you can go very deep to the SEO for e-commerces, like knowing if you put a size at the end, is it giving you better CTR or conversion? So you have to test when you're expanding your products, for example.
I mean, if a product has different size.
So for example, bedding. Should we put bedding, queen, king, California, etc.? Is it going that title going to give you better conversion? So when you're expanding, you have to test different things. A/B testing. If you put the brand at the beginning, Puma shoes size, for example, 14, or if you put like first the brand, for example, Rebel Sport, Nike size something, or put Nike at the beginning. All of those you can test and find out. So that's the later stage of e-commerces, when they are expanding and they have lots of products and they have resources for SEO and testing. They can do and go through that. But for the beginning, is as we mentioned, if it's like you have limited number of products, as you mentioned, keyword research, see what's the competition doing and what already like a older brands in this e-commerce about your category doing it, and you can follow their steps, use their ideas, and but spend more on your PPC instead of your SEO.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, but the headlines here, just to summarize it up for e-commerce businesses, is if you're a startup, e-commerce stores, include some SEO scope in the administration of your product, which ties into your managing your merchant store, the description of the products. I mean, if you forget everything about this podcast as far as e-commerce, just remember this: product descriptions and headlines are very important. It's not a guessing game. You can A/B test it. SEO in this area, search engine optimization, it's not a precise science. That's why we say A/B testing, because there are educated guesses based on previous case studies and your agency's experience. But every business is so unique, every product is so unique to its own. It's so hard to predict customer behavior that you always got to test to see what works in that headline description first. And hopefully that brings in some money, and you get more and more serious into the subsequent areas of search engine optimization, whether it be, everything under the sun, I suppose, that we discussed. Is there anything else you think that we should?
No, I guess we covered most of it.
It's already got a cognitive overload. I mean, we try to keep I try to not use SEO as much as possible in this podcast, just because it gets a bit crazy and people might get tired of it. So I use engine optimization and SEO interchangeably, just for variation and keeping people interested. Let's go for service-based businesses. Now, in my experience, there are two types of service-based businesses. Services that are branding aside. So I'm not talking about whether a business is known for its brand or not. If you've already done work on your branding and your business is known, you're going to do quite well organically. Long are gone the days where you just stuffed a keyword on your web pages and got organic ranking. Matured, you are
keyword stuffing.
It's cold. Yeah, those are gone. Those days are gone. And even buying back and essentially. Anyway, that aside, put aside whether you have a matured URL or not, which is quite significant for your organic ranking, and whether you've done branding or not. Service-based businesses and organic marketing, we'll just use a different synonym now, I suppose, depends on whether the service you're providing is well known or not. I'll just put 3 examples out there. A dentist, a plumber, both services are known quite well. You don't have to introduce to people what these services are. People already know them. They're relatively, purchase involvement may differ, but they're known. Versus a service that's relatively quite new to the market and unknown. Like, I don't know what, can you think of a service that's
maybe B2B services, I don't know, like welding,
I suppose, or a mechanical engineer offering manufacturing solutions. Those services are going to have a low search volume. They're not known. People who search for it are quite educated in the area, far more than your normal customers will be. So as far as looking at this organically, just divide organic marketing into 2 limbs: services that are known, services that are unknown. Let's go after the known services. Do you want to start a conversation on that?
Those search terms like plumber, dentist, they are high volume search, as you mentioned. It's very competitive, and it's no use of no point of focusing on the single keywords, plumber or dentist, because it can be so many different intents. Somebody want to be a dentist, somebody want to have an image of a plumber. So for SEO strategy, in the last 2-3 years, Google gives opportunity to local service providers to compete with the other local search, not to compete with everybody, all the other plumbers in the world.
So it's useless if you're a local business. National ranking is a little. If you're a local plumber, national ranking is really useless. Well, not really useless, but not as much useful.
It cannot bring you clients or money, because if you are in Oakland and somebody Christchurch looking for it, not even in the area, like if something urgent happened, you live in Howick, you search plumber near me. So those keywords become very important. And SEO specialists can help you to bring your service in the map, Google Map. So if you're searching something near you, and that's search is increasing every year based on Google statistics.
So that's where directional clicks, conversions become actually quite valuable. For those who don't know what they are, is when you find a service provider on a map, you click on it, we can track that and report as a conversion and convince you that it hopefully was a sale, essentially.
So for services, local SEO strategy is very important. You start with keywords, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, long tail keywords like plumber, Howick, or plumber near me, but focusing on the area of like the radius around your actual office or the place you are located. And that's something that you can do like strategically behind the scene in your search console or in your website, mentioning your location to be able to compete with other plumbers in your area.
Well, that's actually very, just to make this a bit more vivid for the listeners and audiences, we're talking about the difference between, say, your service name and the city, or service name near me. We have a case study without breaching confidentiality here. Their educational provider. So the name of the education, the service of the education providers, childcare in Oakland was less valuable than childcare near me, and we recorded a lot of good organic wins from near me keywords, childcare near me versus childcare Oakland. So that's the differentiation here essentially we're discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another keyword after location is like emergency plumber, 24/7 plumbing. And if I want to again touch the PPC, you can get so many good ideas if you're running your PPC side by side by SEO. You will see which keywords give you better conversion, have lower cost per conversion, and then you can work on those keywords on your website when you're creating a blog and you're working on your website SEO.
Yeah, this is another point where PPC is really intertwined with SEO because the trends that you record which search terms are bringing in conversions, i.e. hopefully sales, and you use that as part of your keyword research to improve your organic ranking. This sort of leads into, this is a double-edged sword because yes, if your service is well known, even if your brand is not, it'll be easier to get monetary value from organic ranking. But it also means that the competition for your PPC keywords that you're going for, which will most likely run concurrently with your SEO campaign, are going to be very expensive. I.e., plumbers have very expensive keywords to bid on. We're talking about what in New Zealand, $8 to $12 per click. So for those businesses, even if your brand is not known and you're quite strained for budget, SEO strategy is going to become relevant and important to you far quicker than other businesses who are bidding on cheaper keywords because it's not known or there's less search volume for it.
Yeah, so that could be the second part of B2B or like well-known businesses, services, or services with like low search volume, which I call it B2B, business to business. Yeah, you're right. When you're B2B, you don't need to spend that much for PPC, and it's because it's.
We'll jump onto B2B. Let's just keep it to B2C now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, what you say, I agree. It's in the long term, you can save lots of money paying to Google to show your ads.
It's not just saving. I think it becomes an undeniable area, unavoidable area that you can't ignore long. Like other businesses can put off for longer. If say for example, if you're a plumber, SEO, regardless of your budget, will become relevant much more quicker, and it is judicious of you as an owner not to ignore it, whereas other businesses may be able to. Yeah.
But 2 points here about these well-known services is, first of all, when you improve your SEO, your landing page experience, your page load, you use those keywords that you are bidding on your landing page, your click gets cheaper. So as soon as you start working on your SEO, you're going to get cheaper clicks in your PPC. The second point is, it's very, as you mentioned, become more crucial for this kind of service to work on SEO, but it's much, much more harder. It takes years, maybe 2 years for a plumbing Auckland to come up even in the second page of the result. So that's always a balance, is you have to spend much more and wait longer to get some result from your SEO strategy.
Yeah, I think that goes to a larger point. There is no silver bullet. I mean, if there was a marketing company that could guarantee sales, that would mean they can go into any business and fix all their issues and problems and put competency where there isn't. There is no silver bullet. It becomes a question of when a certain marketing activity becomes quite important, and it's judicious of you not to ignore it. Should we jump onto the second limb, services that are less known? We're most talking about B2B, business to business services here, but we can talk. There are some B2C services. Relatively new medical services or counseling services.
Technically, I can say lower search volume.
Yeah.
It's been searched, those keywords, those services search daily lists, and those are very well known.
There's less awareness of them.
Yeah. So for example, if plumber search in Oakland more than 1,000 times a day, something like I don't know, factory mechanical engineer, something. What's the example like?
Providing solutions for manufacturing for more efficient. That's essentially a mechanical engineer scope of work.
Yeah. So yeah, those keywords search maybe less than 10 times a day.
Yeah.
And that's make it different in terms of SEO and PPC strategy. Because you will get less searches, less clicks, less calls, less leads, but even one sales is enough to cover all of your marketing costs.
Yeah.
So
at least as far as return
so we call it return on advertising spend. So
we don't like ROI. ROI is a hijacked term. It's an investment term. I don't know why it's in marketing. People use it, but I hate it.
So ROAS, return on advertising spend. So maybe it's months and months you don't get any conversion for your PPC. You're spending like $10,000, and after 3 months you get a client and you sign a $100,000 contract.
Which may not make you a millionaire, but as far as your money on marketing spend versus how much you've gained from that marketing activity is quite significant. We're not saying any marketing activity, this and that, is going to make you an instant millionaire overnight. Anything that's going to offer you what we call 1,000 nights travel in one night is probably a scam. But yeah, it's going to be.
And that's also make you, because you're very niche, you have a niche market and very specific keywords, make it very easy to come out on the first page result.
Because there's less competition.
Yeah, because maybe 2-3 more companies doing your thing.
Yeah. So that's another part of search engine optimization. How many people are competing for those services and for those keywords? If there are less, you can gain recognition faster, but there's going to be less search volume. Hopefully, each transaction will be more valuable. If there is more search volume, then there's going to be more competition. You have to spend more money to get. So it's always a not double-edged sword, but gain some, lose some.
Yeah. But to summarize it, I think for B2B SEO is less important, because with less effort, like if you have, for example, going to different SEO agencies, with less hours work, less content creation, you can achieve your goals.
Yeah. So suppose it's the classic case of those who have more get more, and those who have less get less. So if you're bigger, if you're providing very skilled, hard to replicate service with high barriers to entry to the market, you can spend less on SEO essentially and get better results than if you're a smaller business and competing in an area with low barriers to entry. So that's just a consideration for you. The theme is always, there is no silver bullet. There's nothing that can replace competency and good service and competing in the right market. But provided that all those strengths are there, or at least there's a good effort to improve the overall competency of a business, then these search engine optimization tactics can become useful. That's probably all for service-based businesses. Do you think anything more we can add? We get content creators. I think this probably is an old topic. Now it's less important with Instagrammers and social media influencers. Essentially, content creators used to be in the 2010s era where blogging was huge. It's less so now when content is becoming more visual. But there are some cross traffic benefits here that organic ranking could benefit from.
Yeah, for content creator, I mean, that could be a completely different podcast in talking about content in SEO. So, I make it easy for myself to understand SEO. If you have a great content, you have a very good chance of coming up on the first search result for related search to that particular content, for example, the topic of your content.
Even if you don't have SEO focused.
Yeah. You have to know some basic do and don'ts in terms of posting that content, different social media, different algorithm, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but we're mostly talking about websites. So if you know, like, you have to have a meta tags, headline, descriptions, name your images correctly, try to not to make your video and images lighter in terms of loading. You have a very good chance of coming up. So you don't need to spend that much money on a SEO specialist. You can learn some small stuffs, and you can work on your content when you're posting it on your website. Either it's a WordPress or Squarespace. Yeah. So I think for content creators, like bloggers, they need to know basic stuff and they can do it themselves. And usually they get organic, they business or they business strategy on getting organic attention, either on social media or so. It's no point of doing PPC for those.
I'll just add to that, probably makes the conversation more interesting. Content creators nowadays are mostly on social media platforms. YouTube, Meta, Instagram, KitKat, whatever new social media is coming up tomorrow, etc. It's less so reliant on the success of the content creator's website. I have a hard time...
Maybe because I was talking maybe news agencies, like they create content.
Yeah, they're content.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not talking about content creators in terms of influencers and YouTubers.
I mean, just bloggers post on it, but yeah, they. So if because content creators, I mean, to be seen in these competitive area of like so many people creating content every day. We are creating content now, so your content should be very special, should say something more than what everybody else saying.
Essentially be to the point, essentially cut to the chase, stick to the point.
Yeah.
Don't waste anyone's time.
Google realized it because Google business is to, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, showing the best result. So if your content helping some people, Google with the AI understand people spending more time reading your content, interacting with your content, and you organically come up. But you have to be careful about some basic things which I mentioned in terms of posting that content on the website.
I'll just add something to that. Even though there are no, Google does not suggest cross traffic improves your organic ranking, referral traffic. There is a lot of correlation that suggests it does. So if you're creating content in one form of media, whether it be visual or written stuff, if you repurpose it, which can be done quite easily now with different tools and AI tools, etc., and repost on different platforms and use the referral traffic, and if you do rely on growing your website traffic, for example, a lot of content creators want to get traffic to their website to monetize the inventory space for advertising. Then that referral traffic does become very, very key for your for improving your organic ranking traffic, and hopefully subsequently you can sell those inventories on your website for advertising. It is a rabbit hole, an area of its own. We're
going technical, but I just want to mention two technical things for content creators. Then we can move on to this. First of all, one of the factors that Google give you rank is social signals. If you're getting good signals, good interaction in your social media, you have a very good chance of getting higher, being in the first search result for your content if you post it on your blog. Second thing is the creator credits. So Google gives, if for example, writer of a blog post, somebody who's been well known on that industry, Google quickly give us a better ranks because knows this person already create so many good contents in this area that people use it and help other people. So that's again going to be very technical in terms of content creator. But maybe we talk about also, as I mentioned, content creator in terms of like a for example, New Zealand Herald or businesses that create content not daily, hourly, and that's Google understand it.
That's a timestamp on the content.
So those businesses usually get good result quicker because they have a well-known brand and like they are present even outside the digital online media, offline media. So and I think we're not going to talk about those.
It's a long conversation of its own. But if you want to add some headline bullet points for content creators and what kind of how they should consider SEO strategy, what would the top 3 bullet points would you say are?
For content creators, as you mentioned, social media may be more important because people, I don't know what generation we are, X, we have less attention time, we don't read that much, videos become more important, and video content is mostly useful for YouTube, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine
in the world after Google.
Yeah. So
and it's a feed engine as well.
Yeah. So YouTube is so many people going to find how to those kind of video, how to fix the fridge, how to do something. So if you have a good content, you have a very high chance of getting noticed.
Yeah, that's what I would essentially add. I'm like, I essentially think, trying to succeed as a content creator through your SEO strategy is probably more of a red herring. Just focus on producing great content. The search engine is really good at picking it up. Creating even now they think that you see, what is it, 1 million hour video being loaded every X amount of time on YouTube. It is hard to create great content. So if you can consistently produce, I know we're getting into we're getting off topic now, but if you can do that, if you can just consistently produce and increase the quality of your production and share it between different mediums, you're going to do well organically, essentially. You're going to do quite well. You can monetize that traffic in 146 different ways that content creators monetize traffic and engagement and audiences. That's probably it for content creators. Non-profit organizations, we probably like this just because, well, to be frank, marketing budget, once it's available, it's not tied to transactional sale activity per se, unless it's it's a charity organization. So as far as clients for us comes, there's probably cha-ching, just to put it out there bluntly. But where do you think SEO becomes important for them? When and where?
Yeah, NGOs again depends on how well known they are.
Yeah.
Because they get clicks if like they are very famous NGOs. I don't know. What's the example, like leukemia? What's that?
Heart Foundation.
Heart Foundation, yeah. But I don't think they usually don't have enough budget for SEO, and the good thing is Google gives them 10,000 grand US dollar grant, which is more than 16,000 NZ dollar at this time, and they get more than enough to show in all of the search to get 100% search impression if somebody searched their foundation or something related to their foundation. So I don't think SEO that's important because as you mentioned, referrals, so many contents created organically for them.
Already,
People think about them, people donate things, posted on Instagram. So Google find it out. You don't need to do much on your website. You just need to have a basic website that is like people can find if they want to donate to you, if they want to see your project. You just need a good website that makes sense for the user. If you do that, you will be on the first page result every time people searching something.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that, which does not mean you're going to bring in millions of dollars every day for your charity, but it means you're going to do quite well. Essentially, being a charity, I suppose as a charity, your primary concern should be whether your online platform, i.e. your website, establishes trust, credibility, to ensure people know you're being genuine about your cause, as opposed to trying to embezzle money. Just to make it a little dark there. But yeah, so invest in a very experienced developer, designers, do your SWOT analysis, make sure the user experience is quite well. All this is to ensure when those users come in, maximum trust and credibility established to achieve the charitable purpose your organization is set out to do. Above and beyond from that, Google already grants you $10,000 a month for search. The challenge here will be for you to spend that money, because often, especially for small economies like New Zealand, you don't have enough search to actually spend that money. And there's so many offline and other marketing activity associated with running a charity. And Google is so good at picking up non-strictly SEO activity with organic ranking. They're going to gain ranking quite quickly anyway. Having said that, if you want SEO done, we're not going to complain. We'll be very happy for it. Like I said, it'll be one of the more profitable areas for us when we get clients for a charitable organization. But as a non-biased, non-conflict of interest advice, you probably won't need it, essentially. If your website is designed well and established with credibility. Moving on, startups. This is a.
Didn't we talk about at the beginning startups?
Well, we talk about small businesses, but small businesses are in a way that it's going to grow quite slowly. Startups, you need a lot of money to start, but if it succeeds, you can scale very quickly and become rich and once you scale, it draws in very significant profits. However, a lot of startups do fail.
So let's first explain startups. Startups is a business that is scalable in the worldwide stage. It's not like limited to location. Because, so for example, if I have a service company, if you start a service like become a plumber, it's not a startup because you have a limited, you can grow that much. But if you create an application like Zero, even somebody in US can use that.
Yeah.
So startups, usually when they raise money, first stage, second stage, they use it for marketing.
Yeah.
Because you need to expand, and it become very big strategy in terms of SEO, because you have to have different strategy in different countries.
So I'll just clarify that. The difference between startups and small businesses, that small businesses are limited by the hours of the day and the people that employ. Where startups, once it gains momentum and justifies itself, people pick it up and it's a successful product. The sky is the limit as far as how far you can scale it. I.e., Telegram has 100 employees and has 1 billion users. Yeah. So you don't need to hire a whole lot to scale a whole lot more.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about startup New Zealand, maybe beginning before they get the investment, before they have enough money to go overseas, they probably cannot afford to have a internal team, in-house team for the SEO or digital marketing strategy.
Startups in New Zealand.
Yeah. So for the beginning, if 1 person, 2 people starting, they usually do most of the things themselves. But by the time they get enough sales, they are so busy with other things, administration, finance, that they usually, we have cases that usually outsource their SEO and like PPC.
Yeah.
So and they have website and app. So there are some app SEOs which is completely different to web SEOs. And
And by the way, apps here have a similar kind of ecosystem where you search for an app, there's a sponsored section, there's an organic section that comes up.
yeah.
It is a very different, similar discipline.
Yeah, but maybe it's easier in terms of it's not much you can do for your app SEO. You have to have, again, like an e-commerce, as we mentioned, good title, good description about what your good images of sample of your app.
Reviews.
Reviews, very important. So yeah, it's very case by case different. But as when the startup become bigger, it's still a startup, but like they get some investment. Depends on the size of the startup. They usually have an in-house team of SEO. So people who, because they definitely have most of the time in-house designers, UX designer, UI designers, back-end programmers, front-end programmers. So the SEO manager has to manage all of those activities and communicate with the owners and like high-level managers. So maybe I'm going out of the question is, if they need SEO, definitely, because when we're talking about SEO, startups means big audiences and big competition, and you have to be found easy on the web and on the like iTunes or like Google.
iTunes, what are we, 2010 now? That's Apple Music now, man.
Apple Store, sorry, Apple Store and Google Play in Android. Am I right?
Play Store.
Play Store, yeah, and so it definitely is a part, but it's when you started. Do you started because the startups usually the owners do everything first year, like they do SEO, they do everything, but after a time they don't have time to do it. But I mean, I'm just saying that it's a must, but how you do it, and if you outsource it or you have an in-house team, how much budget you allocate to it that's the different, but it's a must.
So just to I suppose sum it up is that startups are so case by case basis. It's hard to generalize one advice for every startup there is out there. But often when if you're in early stage of your maturity, you have a few owners that are working themselves to the bone 14 hours a day. At that stage, any extra cost will not be feasible or even practical. But then once they get to the first stage and second stage of funding, they get investors, and the budget for activity, mostly marketing, the ceiling for that budget is so high that SEO, as expensive as it is, becomes a very small part of that. So it just makes sense to do so. And at that point, obviously, you can engage agencies or you can do it in-house. But I suppose often startup founders are quite tech savvy as well. And search engine optimization is a niche area of marketing, but is a very techie, nerdy area as well. So often they can figure it out in the first year enough that they provide a support that's add value enough to get them by.
Yeah.
But then later it becomes it becomes a question of where is it wise for them to spend their time. Obviously, if they're convincing investors and they're making connections, it doesn't make much sense for them to grind away from a computer completing alt tags or their SEO grind work.
That's a good point, because often one of the founders is tech savvy.
Yeah,
you should have a
the capable people
partner that tech savvy. Otherwise, startup is mostly like you create software or application that you can sell it. It's
mostly tech.
So usually one of the founders who is tech savvy do the basic SEO.
And they can figure it out. Like this stuff is, we say,
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science.
But it's time consuming and it includes so many tasks.
It does,
yeah. From content creation, technical, coding, many things like data analysis, keyword research. Yeah.
I mean, all qualities that you think a startup founders would likely have. If they don't have it, they'll probably be in trouble from day one. I'd say these are not causes, but there are correlations. Startup owners are quite savvy with GA4. They are quite savvy with Search Console, with different CMSs. They know what coding languages are, or at least have a good idea of them, so that when you speak the tech lingo, they understand it, and most likely hopefully are able to call people out on their bullshit, because they have to speak to a lot of specialists, from marketers to business consultants to accountants, etc., to convince those very, very sharp investors to invest money in their venture. I suppose that's mostly it. I just wanted to touch base on one more quick option, is that search engine marketing, mostly we must discuss Google, because 90% of searches happen there. Now that AI is coming in, there's much more zero-click based searches, but that's a different conversation of its own. We'll do a podcast on that as well. But there is an intrinsic conflict of interest within Google's business model, because essentially they want you to spend money on ads. So businesses who do well in PPC end up doing better in organic as well. And businesses who just want to go purely SEO organic, they don't end up getting recognition and improving their ranking as quick as they could if they were doing PPC. That conflict of interest model is there. Google is an advertising agency. It is something we got to live with, but that's why essentially PPC and SEO for us are very much intertwined and hard to separate from each other, especially when a SEM campaign becomes mature. It's hard to fathom it won't include both these disciplines in it.
Yeah.
But
great.
yeah. Suppose that's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.